So what is not lost in this process and will be part of everything we do is making sure that the impact of our community, the health and well-being, is considered in everything that we do moving forward.
And then when you speak about mental health services, I know I've spoke with someone previously and they said these will be provided for as long as needed for students. How do students get involved and get these mental health services?
Yes, those services are continuous. We had some within the past couple of days that were off campus at the Hanna Center in East Lansing based on capacity and things of that nature. We do have full-time services here at MSU as well for our counseling and psychiatric services with that, but we've had an overwhelming response from neighboring resources to participate. Extended hours, we have locations on campus that are facilitated near the dining halls that are open. They can schedule them, they can walk in. The FBI has flown in additional resources as well that will be available. We had conversations with state government. The governor has also made additional resources available for that. It's a significant piece of how we move forward, and so it will be at the forefront.
And can you talk a little bit about the FBI's role here? Just, I know you spoke to them, you had to run to a meeting, but they flew in additional resources. Just what their role is here on campus as we kind of work toward the resolution.
So the process, it's a partnership. It's a partnership. They have, whereas we have limited resources, theirs are scalable. And part of what they do in whole as a law enforcement is to be supportive with that. They're also level of expertise that they have. And so when there is a critical incident nationally, we partner with the FBI, or any law enforcement agency does, and relies on them for that expertise and the additional resources. So everything from helping to assist in the crime scene investigation, helping to interview witnesses and others involved in the investigation, providing victim services. Those are all resources that they bring to bear.
And I know you've probably heard, but a dispatcher has been given a lot of praise for how she handled the situation. I know there's been a fundraiser now started. You've probably obviously heard the dispatch and 911 calls. Can you speak at all just about the dispatch and the 911 center's role in this situation and how well it was handled, just from your understanding?
Yes, I can. I think the dispatch function is probably one of the most underrated components of a public safety response. It is absolutely essential in the process. It's no surprise to us that the dispatchers performed above with that. That's what they do. The way that they performed during that, the number of calls that came in, managing resources that they have at their disposal, it's incredible. Everything that they receive as far as an accolade or recognition is well-deserved. It's well-deserved.
And are the dispatchers, the ones that took that call, is there their own dispatch center here on campus, or would that go through the county dispatch center?
So we're part of a collective.
Okay.
The Ingham County Regional Communications Center provides dispatch services for numerous law enforcement agencies, as well as emergency medical services and fire in Ingham County. We are part of that Regional Communications Center with that. Some of the advantages of that is that if there are 911 calls or calls for services to come in, because of the close relationship and how close physically we are, geography, it's extremely helpful. They're familiar with all the jurisdictions. They know how many officers are on duty all the time at any time. They have access to all the public safety resources. So the collective of that Regional Communications Center is in play here and proved to be very effective, not just in our incident, but in numerous.
Okay, and then kind of just asking, so here there aren't necessarily any drill protocols for when a situation happens for students. Is this something that maybe in the future you're looking to possibly give students a heads up preparation for if something like this were to happen again?
So there are drill protocols. We have them, and they are, although getting them to it, our population of 50,000 students with that, it's difficult to get everyone the training. However, there are protocols and drills in place. The run, for example, in our alert message, we said run, hide, fight. That's in reference to a training that they have access to and that some of them have actually had. Same for faculty and staff. There's also accessibility of the video itself on our website to review and things of that nature. Currently, it can be requested. We provide that training to residence halls, to student organizations, to academic departments as well. So that is available for them. And we also unfortunately, we live at a time to where a lot of our students have had training like that in their high schools as well. So that training is available. I think for us moving forward, it's how frequently it's delivered, and is it a consideration that it's does it become part of a mandatory component for them?
Thank you so much.
That were installed after Brendan Santo went missing help with this investigation, and or the new Security Operations Center, did that have a role in identifying the suspect?
So we take any time that we can assess and improve, we do. Part of what has been done over the past year is the implementation of centralized security systems, meaning that we monitor, or the process has begun to centralize that. We did install and upgrade security systems to include cameras on campus. As you saw, as the picture and video that was released, or specifically the picture that was taken from video footage in the Union, that is part of our system with that. So we use all of our tools, and the assessment period is ongoing.
Is that one of the new ones that was put in after the Brendan case?
Well, specifically new, I couldn't speak to the new camera. What has changed are a lot of processes. And what has changed is in regards to what the standards are for the type of cameras that we use and the overall video management system.
We have the FBI director kind of join. I know you guys all wanted him to. So
Back.
if you get
There you
involved
go.
there,
Have at it.
You're welcome.
Another crisis.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we first off just have you say your first and last name, spell them, and your title?
Of course. Jim Tarasca, Tarasca. I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI Michigan.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your investigation just following what happened on Monday evening?
Sure. So the FBI is here to support our partners at Michigan State University. Whatever the chief and his folks need, we are here to do. We bring people, we bring capabilities, and we're here from the time it began. The investigation will continue. Today is important to get the students back to essentially return their belongings that were left behind when the shooting occurred. So inside the Union Center, there are laptops, backpacks, phones left in place where the students were sitting, eating, studying, socializing. So we will bring them in one by one. We've brought victim specialists from the FBI in from around the country to facilitate that. They'll bring each student and their parents in. If they prefer us retrieve their items and bring them out, we will do that as well. But we'll also provide mental health support to them too, and essentially get their things back to them and try to return to some sense of normalcy. It will be a long healing process. We all know that.
And I know a lot of people wondering, since the suspect is now deceased, why the investigation goes on for several days, why there's still tape up at the Union. Can you just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Again, there are still plenty of items inside that need to be returned. We don't want the general public walking in. We need to secure it because we don't want people taking other people's things, essentially. That's the reason for that. It's up to the chief and his folks when that building gets turned back over. We are just here to support the chief in the ongoing process.
And then just talking a little bit more about the suspect, can you confirm that police did make contact with him before he killed himself?
So anything involved in the actual investigation, I'll defer to the chief on that.
Any answer to that you know?
Well, consider it is an ongoing investigation with that. We received a call from someone that responded within a very short time after the picture had been released, stating that there was someone in the area that matched the description. We had police in the area. They responded. They did encounter the suspect at that particular point. The next sort of the sequence of events after that, that's still part of the overall investigation with that, so we won't speak directly to it. And we are partnering with the state police specifically in regards to what happened at that particular encounter.
How are the victims who are still in the hospital?
The last update that I had is that they were still in critical condition. Their families have been notified. We have a couple of international students that were wounded in that because of their status in regards to where they are abroad. They're attempting to make arrangements to get here. But until that time, they have their friends and their classmates and roommates that are there with them, as well as access to university staff that are there for them for their comfort as well.
And then just speaking a little bit more on the cameras, what was the process like kind of going through and finding that photo? Because I know the photo was one of the main reasons that you guys were able to locate the suspect. If you could just kind of touch on that for me.
Sure. When the incident occurred, the resources that we have, it was some of our MSU investigators that utilized the video management system on a daily basis, went in and started reviewing footage, literally going through frame by frame, making use of the times of sequence of events, and saw it. They recognized it as soon as we were confident that that had some potential. It was released, and that's just a great example of see something, say something. That the time frame was very short after it was released that we received the call from a community member saying, "I think this may be the person."
As people prepare themselves to come get their things, what should they know? What have you guys done to prepare the scene? Because it is such a traumatic thing.
So I'll defer to Jim. They've had the primary responsibility.
Thanks, Chief. And again, this is what the FBI does is we provide our capabilities. The Chief knows what we can do, and absolutely supported us in after a crime scene is pretty much complete, getting the items back to the students. So in preparation for that, we essentially cleaned the area of food that was left behind, trash that was left behind. We left all the students' items exactly where they were when they were there. So when they get here, they will be attached to a victim specialist, essentially walked in and retrieve their items and provided that mental health support that they might need, they might ask for.
How many people do you expect to have to come by? How many people is it estimated were here when this happened?
I would say about 100. It'll be about 100 students. That's a very rough estimate. But 130, they'll show up, again, with support. I'm sure they'll be with parents and loved ones, and we will take the time to support them and get them what they need.
And then I know classes are to resume on Monday. For classes in these buildings, I don't know who can speak on this, but will students be coming back into these buildings? What is the next steps for the university on classes that are in Berkey or people that visit the union?
Chief.
Sure. So in regards to that, there'll be contact made with the students in regards to expectations. If there are any changes to where the classes are being held, that'll be communicated to the students with that. The functions are different. The MSU Union is completely different than Berkey Hall. The Union it's a gathering place. It's restaurants, computer labs, student workspace, clothing stores, things like that. It's a student union that's very common on college campuses. So we expect at the moment, but who knows what happens between now and then. There'll be discussion in regards to how the building's actually open with that. The Berkey Hall's function is completely different. It is classroom space. It is administrative offices. It's research space. So we just don't know exactly. The plan is that overall for the university, yes, classes will resume on Monday. Specifically for these venues, that is to be determined and will be shared with our community.
And do you know if if students will have options to maybe do online courses? Is that something that you can answer to me if they're not comfortable coming back so soon?
So a lot of what's being asked is in discussion with that. The accommodations of the student needs moving forward will be listened to and discussed in regards to how that proceeds. We currently do have online classes. The impact of those, they're online and things of that nature. Whether something would shift sort of mid-semester where we're at, that is something that will be determined by the president and the provost with that, and it's still being considered. But at this point, I don't think there's going to be just one particular way of moving forward. It's going to be a multitude of things.
Chief, can you talk about the status of the operations center that was recently created and how that played a role in helping to identify the shooter?
Thank you. What I will say, the wind, all right? This is where we're at with that. The components of just the physical security systems in itself, we are in the process of centralizing those. How we utilize currently our video management systems is for an investigative purpose, and how the footage or the picture that was determined was by an investigator going through the video itself and recognizing by description and other timeframes along those lines. As we move forward, the operations center will come into play to where we would have the ability to monitor all of our cameras simultaneously with that through both staff as well as technology, and utilize in a response to be able to direct and guide our resources as an incident is actually occurring.
You added hundreds of cameras recently after Brendan Santos' death. Can you say if the camera used to get the image we all saw of the shooter was one of the newer cameras?
I couldn't speak to the specifics of the camera itself. We have, as you made reference to, we have thousands of cameras in that regard. What has happened since then is how we utilize the systems have changed with that. The specs and the standards of the cameras that we now have in place and things of that nature. The technology going forward is upgraded and is being utilized and trying to be utilized in more of a proactive manner.
We've heard
Can you help me
stories.
understand, please, what you mentioned? There was an encounter with the suspect, with police. Did the encounter end there, or did he walk on, or did he shoot himself at that point? Can you help me understand what you said about that?
Yeah, so that particular incident, I don't have the specifics of the investigation at this particular time, and that is still pending with that. The state police are the primary investigating agency on that, and at some point they will probably share what's being asked of that.
Why can't you say more about that now?
Because it's pending investigation, and at this time we wouldn't speak to specifics in regards to it.
Can you go back to the
Can you
timeline a
confirm or
moment?
deny? Did he have two? We were hearing that he had two. He was found with two handguns. Is that true?
So you would have to talk to the state police in regards to that.
We've
If-
heard.
Can you go back to the timeline?
We've
for a
heard
moment?
stories about the victims who are in the hospital acting heroically, trying to stop the gunman. Did that happen? Have you been able to verify that? What can you tell us about the efforts they took?
So in regards to that, wasn't part of those interviews, so I don't know specifics in regards to it. The statements that we're taking, I couldn't confirm if that was stating actually happened or not. In those circumstances, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case with that, but I couldn't confirm any actions taken by those that were injured at the time.
I'm curious what type of a longer term, appreciating we're not even 48 hours here, but I've talked to other students about maybe IDs that could be security oriented for building access. I mean, how do you take an incident like this, the time frame of maybe revisiting security versus open access that's desired, and what changes may or may not come?
Yeah, we are completely open to listening to our community in regards to how they want to live on campus with that. But what goes hand in hand with that is not losing sight that this is a learning institution and that it's also a place where people live. And so I think that our physical security needs to be consistent with the function of the building. For example, we do currently have access control systems. ID cards are utilized to provide access. How the access is for Residence Hall is different than how it is for the MSU Union with that. We have public spaces that are identified, and we have private areas as well.
But the union is not card access, right? It's open.
It's when it is during the operation hours, it's open. After hours, it is card access with that. So there has to be a determination of the type of function and how the access will be. Right now, as a public university and being part of the community, we're open with that. And for a building to have retail and has traditionally had open access is a discussion with our community on how we move forward with that. And so that type of feedback from students, also our neighboring community of East Lansing and those who visit campus, we're a destination and we're part of the community. We're not a correctional facility, so there are expectations that will be managed with that, and it's a quality of life component. We want people to feel safe. We want them to be safe, but we need to have a collective on how that's actually applied here on campus.
I'd love to go back, please, if you would indulge me on the photo. I was listening driving up to the news conference, the first one that was at 11 o'clock, ended about 11:20, 11:25. If I'm right on my timeline, by about 11:40, 11:45, officers were in contact with this individual, or somewhat. So are we talking literally within 10 minutes, 5 minutes of that photo being distributed, somebody gives you guys a call 5 miles away in Lansing and sees this guy? Or can you get a little more narrow in regard to how quickly that happened?
It was very quickly. I can't give you exact minutes and things of that nature, but it was extremely quick. After the picture was released, we received a call from our dispatch with our Lansing community members saying, I think we have someone here that matches that description.
Within minutes?
Within minutes, yeah. Very, very short. And that's the benefit of of sharing information and getting it out to the community. That's important. See something, say something. It is a collective effort. It's not just us, it's everyone involved that has a role. And we definitely are very, very appreciative of that community member.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My name is Marlon Lynch. Marlon is spelled M-A-R-L-O-N.
Yep.
Lynch is L-Y-N-C-H.
And you're chief of police.
Vice President for Public Safety and Chief of Police.
Vice President for Public Safety and Chief.
I'll take yours. I don't have one. That's one of my bad things. But I can use it. Want that? You have a work email? Sure.
I'm going to go talk to the FBI a little bit more over there. Yes. Yeah.
Any evidence that might assist in the investigation, but we balance that with getting the students